What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. How's everybody doing today on this lovely Friday afternoon? Hope you all are staying healthy out there, staying safe, hanging out on X-Plane, doing what we do. Got a good showing in the house tonight. Cosmic Balloon, good to see you here, man. What's going on, dude? CNT, welcome to the stream, man. Good to see you here. Dougal McTavish in the chat. What's up, man? Good to see you. So, do I have a Madeira? Man, add-on? I do. So, guys, yes, you probably know by now we're going Gibraltar to Madeira, and it is a lovely approach going in there. Quite possibly one of the more challenging approaches, especially in real-world operations, just due to the wind conditions at that airport. Now, there's a couple sceneries available. One of them is much older, but has a better runway object type thing where you can actually see the pylons and everything that hold up the runway. But the ground textures look like they're straight out of FS9D8 or something like that. So I'm opting to use the newer one on the org stores or on the forum. Basically, it's a free download of the airport scenery there. It's quite nice. It doesn't have the pretty objects and stuff as the older one, but it has some better ground textures and some volumetric grass, which I think is pretty cool. So we'll try that. I'm quite honestly, I am shocked that Orbix or Aerosoft or somebody has not done a add-on scenery over there for that island, because it's absolutely stunning. I was watching real-world approaches going in there, and it just looked so beautiful. It really gave me the itch to fly, even more so than I already have right now. So anyway, we're gonna head over down there. I know it's a little bit longer of a flight, about 95 minutes en route or something like that. We're gonna go cost index 99, try to get out of here. With the box is already loaded, we're just gonna go over the flight plan, and we're going to blast off out of Gibraltar. Winds are expected to pick up once we get in there for our arrival. Right now, Active Sky is showing expected weather conditions, gusts up to 22 knots. So we'll see how that pans out by the time we get there. But yeah, let's do it. X-Plane 1972, what's going on, man? Good to see you in the house. Dude, I loved that 747 stream. I wasn't able to catch it live, but I definitely checked out the landing, and the weather in JFK there was nuts. But that Tower Air livery, man, that looks fresh. That's got to bring back some memories for you, dude. Some nostalgia, I'm sure. Absolutely stunning to see that 747 in that Tower Air livery. IMDimitri, what's going on, man? Welcome to the chat. All right, guys, let's go ahead and hop in the pit here as we load up on our lovely TAP Portugal. Now, I was going to do a 321 in there, but I figure we'll probably take the 321 out. So this will probably be the last stream in the Flight Factor for a little while. I know we've been doing the Flight Factor. I've just, between the MATAVIA lights and the MATAVIA mod, so I've got MATAVIA engines. Let's see if I can come over here. So I've got a little bit dirtier engine textures on the MATAVIA mod. Relatively clean wing. We still have the nice cabin windows and the beautiful cabin lighting and all that stuff. So I'm really loving the Flight Factor right now. But we will be back in the Tolas probably on the next stream leaving Madeira. So let's go ahead and get the box loaded up here. Into the cockpit we shall come. We'll start with our overhead flow there. Nav light's already on. Looks like this is kind of just on a turnaround state here, so I should have started at the batteries. 27.8, that looks good. Battery 1 and 2 can come online. We'll get the CVR recording. ADIRs are already in the line mode. Fire test has already been complete. We'll leave the fuel pumps off for now. We're going to cool down the cabin just a little bit here. And everything else looks pretty kosher up there. No amber lights where they shouldn't be. Gear handle is down, weather radar is off, and transponder's off. Perfect. Let's go ahead and pull up the box here. Look at our route of flight. We're going to be departing out of here. Now, I want to see, Active Sky was giving me some interesting weather for Gibraltar. Let me see what the actual sim is reporting for winds. 100 at 10. So, yeah, we're going to depart off. We're going to blast off runway 9er. Out of here, 30.06, which is pretty much, that's 10.18. Yeah, it's 10.18. So that's good. So the weather conditions are matching up with Active Sky. Good deal. All right, we're TAP 533 today. IRS has been initialized. Let's take a look at our flight plan. Now, in real-world operations, there's some restricted airspace pretty much going from Gibraltar. I wouldn't say restricted, but you have to be on a certain track from Gibraltar down. You can't really go direct across. I'm kind of violating that just because we are, you know, we're on the Euro tour and we can do what we want here. So it's not necessarily the most realistic route out there, but I wasn't going to fly an hour out of the way just to get on an airway and fly a track down there. So we're going to go out towards Victor Juliet Foxtrot, which is a VOR. Basically head down to Runax, Cronex, and then after Corno, we've got some interesting stuff happening here in the box. What is that? Okay. So, let's go ahead and start this over. VOR Alpha, okay. I'm going to just load in a different arrival. Oh, I'm going to erase this arrival, because I think this arrival is screwing up. It's been screwing up my box here. Alright, so VJF, Runax, Corno, then we're going a long fix all the way to Sierra November Tango. Now, this is where it's getting jacked up. Busu, so if we look at the arrival, LPMA, we're going to do the VOR Alpha approach, visual. We're going to do this circle to land 5. Now, the arrival coming in here, for some reason the flight vector is giving me issues, and I don't know if I'm screwing this up or what. I want to do the Santo 4 from Porto Santo. So I should be able to just go here and then join the course, but for some reason it does not want me to do that. Let's see if we can load it up again here. We'll try it one more time. Arrival, Santo 4. It has been doing a hold there. I wonder what that's up for. Swappy coming in with a $2 bomb. What's going on, man? Thank you so much for your support on the channel. Oh man, I am not gonna be able to read that whole message. That is long. Why can't I see the entire message? He says, hello everyone, hope you are well. Thanks for the early stream. Can you tell me how to maintain centerline during landing? My flight factor 320 goes towards the right side of the centerline and it messes up and I have a hard time landing. The TOLS 3 FCOM versus IAE BSS. And then I can't read it from there, man. I got cut off. I'm sorry. I will try to remedy that here in a second. Let me... Why can't I read that message all the way through? Anyway, about the landing. You know, I'm struggling with holding centerline too. I think it's my rudder pedals. I wonder, you know, maybe you have a rudder pedal issue like me. Maybe, but I have noticed that in the flare it wants to go to the right. It's almost like there's a torque factor or something being applied to the airplane. But I can't, it's hard for me to speak on centerline control just because my rudder, I think most of my problems come from my rudder pedals being a little bit out of whack. So I don't really have a good answer for that, man. And the BSS IAE versus Tolless pack. Let me fix this box. Let me get back to that chat there, Swappy. For some reason, I can't read the last half of your message. But I'll get back to it, man. Thanks for your support. Let's go back here. Return. Insert this box. What is going on here? I feel like this is going to crash my game. I keep trying to reset this box. For some reason, it wants me to do this hold here. And there is no hold, but basically from Abusu, minimum holding altitude 3,000, there is a hold in there. I got you. Actually, that looks good. Perfect. We can do that. Box looks good. 4.2 on the fuel. That's a little bit more gas than I want. We're going to go ahead and change that. So that's, our flight plan is pretty much in the box. We can get rid of LPMA. We got plenty of time en route to take care of that. Oh, Swappy, you don't have rudder pedals? Well, that's gonna be your issue, man. It's gonna be very difficult to maintain centerline without rudder pedals. Now, do you have a twist axis? You got to have some kind of twist axis, right, on your joystick. Maybe something with that is causing issues. It's gonna be much harder to land in any type of crosswind condition without rudder pedals. So I'm just going to say it can be done, and I had a twist stick for years, but it is going to be more challenging. All right, we are going to hard tune VJF coming out of here. Victor Juliet Fox. And LXGB 09er. Perf data, we're going to come back to that. Fuel, I'm going to, let's change the fuel loader. If I take, we got an hour 30 extra gas at 8.5. Okay, we'll leave it with that. That's good, in case we got to go around, because it might be pretty windy there. So, secondary, quick init here. LXGB, LXGB. LXGB. Oh, return. All right. Secondary, I'm just going to throw this in here. Man, that was a fun approach coming in here last time. I'm just going to put in the RNAV 9er. And we'll just put in 1,000 MDA. I'm not really looking it up on the chart. I just want to have something in the box. It feels normal. We're not going to be returning, though. But that was a fun approach coming in here from that last stream. I was not expecting... the approach just snuck up on me, you know. Just got to talking, and we weren't really on an RNAV arrival, so easy to get distracted. I think everything else is pretty much set here. I already did the init B 53.9. That looks good. 20.6 with an 8.5 block fuel. Trim up 1.7. That looks good to me. Let's go ahead and set our V speeds. We're going to go 30, 31, flaps 2, flexing, no flex, flaps 2, maximum yoga power. That comes back on. Let's get the APU primed up here. Fuel pumps can come online. Seatbelts on, auto, armed emergency lights. Swap, you have an Logitech Extreme 3D Pro joystick with twist access. Okay, so, yeah, do you have, and let me ask you this, Swappy, so are you trying to land the flight factor? You said, yeah, your flight factor 839. Okay, I was thinking maybe you were having issues with the TOLUS, and I know TOLUS has an option where you can have roll as a rudder axis, which I thought maybe that could be causing an issue. Let's go ahead and fire up this APU here. Man, it was nice and sunny earlier, now the clouds came in. But I'll you know what, Swappy, it may just be something to do with the ground physics of the airplane, and you know you're trying to coordinate with twist, and it's I can't really explain the best way to land it with a twist axis. Being honest with you, I haven't used a twist axis stick in a very long time. Alright, APU is online. Get rid of the external power. We'll turn the APU bleed on. That looks good. Let's close up some doors here. We can remove the fuel truck. Let's start closing everything up here. Take a look outside. Ooh, there's an Iberia 320. Donald says, I believe my rudder pedals are doing the same thing, so I'm blind with center line. The closer I get, the center line doesn't keep up. Yeah, you know, I wish I had a better answer for you guys, but I mean, I see other streamers land it pretty much on the center line. I mean, it's hard for me to say what would the issue be other than, you know, pilot error. Maybe we just got to work on it harder. I'm going to try on this stream, since we've been talking about it, I'm really going to try to focus on centerline. Well, it may not be the best example just because it's going to be blowing pretty good there in Madeira, but I'm going to really try to focus on that centerline on the approach, and then we'll look at the replay. We'll study the replay to see how the airplane is behaving as we get towards the ground, but I'm inclined to think it's just user error.
Donation.
Thrust Set coming in with a $5 bomb. Thank you so much, man. He says, thank you for flying my airline, TAP. I gotta say, Thrust Set, number one, thank you so much for your support on the channel and those fan blades spinning there in the wind. I love this livery, man. This livery looks fresh, and I don't like white liveries. I really don't, but I love I love this logo here. The way the TAP is painted. I mean, I sat there and just kind of looked at it, and you know, I think it looks really extra juicy on the 321. So we're probably going to blast off out of Madeira in a 321. But this looks, I just love this logo here. I think maybe they could have done maybe a solid, well, a solid belly would have ruined it, but it's for a white livery, it gets my V1 seal of approval because I think it looks pretty juicy. All right, everything is loaded up here. Looks like we can hide the ground crew. We will hide all of them, and we'll get the beacon light on here. We'll call for pushback, and I'll run a checklist.
Please show me where you want to go.
All right, so we're just going to go straight back. Actually, no, let's go straight back at a 90 here. because they've got a blast fence right there. So we'll line up against the blast fence. That way when we break away, we don't blow any trucks or vehicles.
Ground to cockpit. Tow is driving up.
Salim says, I hope to watch all the stream, but I have to kill my fast in 45 minutes. No worries, Salim. It's going to be a longer en route phase, so you'll have plenty of time to do what you got to do. Let me just pull out my checklist. Alright, let's do a before start checklist. Maintenance on tail number, onboard and check. Cockpit prep has been completed. Gear pins and covers removed. Signs on an auto. 8 ears. We're navin. Fuel. 8.3 required, 8.5 on board. Altimeters 1018 set 1, 2, and 3 times. EFB checked. Windows, doors, and slides. They are closed and armed. Beacon is on. Thrust levers idle. Parking brake is set for now. Before start checklist complete.
Okay, all doors and hatches are closed. Ready to connect.
Alright, he's going to connect up there. Look at that fan blade just spinning in the wind. The wind is blowing. Swappy. Also, Tolas 319 CFM versus IAE. Which one should I buy? Thanks, man. Swappy, I don't know why I couldn't read the end of that message, dude. I apologize. But me, personally, I like the IAE pack because I like IAE engines. I fly IAE engines almost exclusively. Other than the last, 3 flights that we've done here in the Flight Factor, I've used the CFMs just because I figured, hey, I should show the CFM fans some love as well. But me personally, I like the IAEs. The CFMs, though, are just as fine. Whatever you personally prefer.
Bypass pin inserted. Release parking brake.
But as far as sounds go, they are, I think, pretty much identical in quality. They're very well done. All right, we're going to set 380. We're at top altitude. Constraint mode on. Brakes released. Clear to push, sir.
Starting pushback, and you may start engines.
How long will this flight take? This one's going to be a little over an hour, I think. Or, I'm sorry, 90 minutes. So about an hour and a half, hour 40, depending on what we do up en route there. Now, to me, it looks like my overlay... Let's see, let me take a look at my overlay settings here. Hopefully the overlay is working. Move it a tad. Get the FT sim instead of BSS? I still think BSS has the quality for everything else. Oh, guys, look at this. You know what this is? What is this over here? That's not a random object. Let's see. Test your airport knowledge. What is this right here? I know exactly what this is, and you see them on airports all over the world, really. Who's the first one to answer that question? Tony Docs, what's up, man? He says, weird question. Does your Flight Factor 320 still have the connector active in the plugins that seems to be causing issues with CTD? I do have the Flight Factor plugin, but I have not had any CTDs yet, so I don't want to try anything and have it crash. My sim has been, knock on wood, pretty stable, so... But yeah, I did notice when I disabled some other plugins like the Gizmo and stuff that the Flight Factor connector plugin is still there.
Operation complete. Set parking brake.
Brake set. Clear to disconnect.
Disconnecting tow. Stand by.
Alright, let's go ahead and light them up. We're going to start engine 1. Crank it over to ignition start. There's our 36 PSI. Fire away. Now you got to be careful in a situation like this, because if the wind is blowing, let's see, we're facing northeast. Wow, that wind is blowing right up our tailpipe. If it was significant, you got to be careful for engine starting. Your ITTs can get pretty hot. Now the Airbus has an automatic start aboard feature, which in that case it would take over. But some aircraft that don't have that capability, some airplanes even have limitations on tailwind for engine start. As far as I know, I don't think the Airbus actually has a limitation for engine start on a tailwind. I just know you really need to be aware of it. Fire training. There you go.
Disconnected and bypass pin has been removed. Hand signal on the right.
Who was the first one to answer that? Micah Messer. Yes, sir. Micah Messer. You got it, man. All right, thanks for the smooth push, man. We'll see you next time. We're going to light up both engines here because we got to do a taxi back on the runway. PTU kicking in. I love it. The CFM engines are alright. They're kind of like mini Neos, but I miss my IAE engine sticking out there. Power transfer, that looks good. We'll extend flaps too from the wing view here, so we can listen to it. Commander says that British towing bloke always sounds depressed and or annoyed. Hey man, well he's hard day working. He's probably towards the end of his shift maybe. All right, let's go ahead and do an after start. That comes off. Arm the spoilers, flaps 2, APU can come offline. We don't need all these overhead lights on right now. Let's turn down, a lot of these cockpit lights are on by default, which I don't really understand why. We can turn those floods off, we can turn the integrated lights off. We might keep those on. Alright, we got 2 good starts. We're doing a flaps 2 takeoff. We're going to do a taxi back on the runway, so we're going to run all of our checks before we move the aircraft. Engine anti-ice is off, yellow electric pump is off, rotor trim is 0. After start checklist complete. Let's do our flight controls. Full up, full down, neutral, full left, full right, neutral. Now one thing you talk about BSS quality sounds, and I don't know how true this is, maybe not on the planes that I fly, but I don't really notice it on some of them, but I'm not saying it's not accurate. I'm sure there's some out there that just have louder hydraulics, but listen to the hydraulic pitch change when I do an aileron check. That's pretty cool. You hear that? That's the detail that you're getting with BSS. I think BSS definitely has it going on for sounds. FT Sim is good. He's got some great quality sounds. I'm not taking anything away from FT Sim, but definitely some very nice quality sounds from BSS. Alright, we're blasting off runway 9er, so we need a taxi out of here. We're going to go out of the pad, right turn on Alpha, and then back taxi to 09er. Brakes released. Let's do it. I hope you guys are ready to get the Toga on. I love that livery. Alright, I can just see where I'm going though, so we don't taxi into these taxi lights here. I do indeed have my track IR on for when we get to Madeira. We're gonna need it big time for that turn. And I'm gonna need to turn the air on because it's already hot in my room. Captain Geo, what's going on, man? Welcome to the chat, dude. Good to have you on board. Alright, we're running the before taxi check, or I'm sorry, before takeoff checklist to the line. Gross weight comparison is complete. Ooh, pitch trim. We need to go 1.7. That's close enough. That seems like a lot of pitch trim, if you ask me. 1.7 is set. V1, VR, V2, flex. 130, 131, 135, no flex. Flaps, config 2, checked. Flight instruments, they are checked. Flight control check, ECAM memo. We're gonna, you know what? We can't do that because we didn't do our flow. So, and I'm gonna go under the taxi lines here. So this is why it's a 2-crew airplane. Let me just go ahead and get us on the runway. I'll do my flow while I'm doing that. Auto brakes max, takeoff config check. That can go to position 1. Squawking 2000. And then we need to do the FAP panel. Man, I really need multi-crew in this thing sometimes, I swear. We'll get our lights on for taxiing. Alright, let's continue with the checklist. ECAM status is check. So ECAM ammo, takeoff all green, ECAM status check. PWS is auto. TCAS code set, TRA, cabin crew advised. Mini brief is complete. I'm going to need these trucks to hold their horses here. Okay, that car is stopping. Do not want to get hit by the bulldozer. Are we not stopping? I thought you guys were supposed to stop. Oh, look, I got those fuzzy things on the flat. I haven't had those in a while. That's so strange. Must be something to do with the contrail. Alright, we're just going for it. You guys aren't stopping for me, so... Close your eyes, don't look. I'm not going to watch. I'm going to look out the window. There we go. Kramer, DC9, what's up, man? PPL here. Wanted to be airline pilot early 90s, but medical got in the way. Had a friend get me into the 737 sims and jump seat. Thanks for the videos. Kramer DC9, dude, I really appreciate your support, man. Thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Awesome to have you on board for the stream. Unfortunate about the medical situation there, but yeah, that does gets a lot of guys, man. It really does. I've been pretty blessed that I've been okay on the medical standpoint. But that's awesome. You got into the 737 sim and jump seat. Good stuff, dude. Now you need to get into some Airbus sims. Definitely need to get into some Airbus sims next. All right, let's continue with our checklist here. TCAS code set, TRA cabin crew advised, mini brief is complete. Takeoff runway. We're going to flip it around. We are on the right runway, though, so runway is confirmed 09er. Fuel for takeoff, 8-1 required, 8-4 on board. Engine mode selector is normal. Bleeds and packs are set. For takeoff checklist complete. You guys want to do a max performance takeoff again, so when I flip it around, actually, we'll just do it now so I don't forget. We're going to go packs off. Packs 1 and 2 off. Hopefully it doesn't get too toasty back there. That fuzzy thing is so interesting on the backside. Alright, we gotta do the flip around here. It looks like we'll make a little left. I hate doing the left turn just because when you're in the left seat. Well, I'd rather do a left turn, is what I meant to say, than this. Alright, let's go ahead and light it up. Lost a little momentum there in the turn. Not a bad lineup, just a little bit off center line there to the right. Alright, it's time to blast out of here, guys. Noah Featherson coming in with a $15 bomb. Appreciate it, man. Let me get this before I take off. You and Flight Deck to Sim have become my favorite things to watch during quarantine. Keep up the good work, man, and hope all is well. Noah, thank you so much for your support on the channel, man. I'm glad you're enjoying the content. Flight Deck to Sim, he definitely rocks it, man. Glad you're enjoying both of us. Staying sane and being able to enjoy some good old YouTube videos during the life of quarantine. Thank you again, Noah. Alright, I'm going to set my display unit here. One thing that we should take note before we blast off here, I want to show you guys something. So there is minimum radar altitudes. So basically 1400, and then we need to make a left. We're going to make a left turn all the way around. Yeah, we'll make a left turn. As long as we're above, we stay close to the airport. Pretty much, if we get above 3,000, we're going to be good to go. So we're blasting off. Nose forward on the stick, spool them up 50. Let's go. Captain Berto! I'll get right to that, man. Toga SRS, auto thrust is blue. Neutral by 100. V1, rotate. That car just cleared the runway. Positive rate, you're up. Beautiful. We're navving. Berto, thank you so much, man. Coming in with a $10 bomb. He says, how are you, V1? Good day. Berto, thank you so much for your support, man. I'm doing just fine. Glad to have you on board. Thank you for your support, continued support of the channel. Totally awesome. Thank you, man. I hope you're doing just as well. Our TCAS is in standby mode. That's not good. VFU next -1 flaps up. Man, we're a little bit rusty today. We're a little bit rusty. There's S-speed flaps 0 after takeoff checklist. Let's get the packs back online. How are we looking for outside air temps? +15, so we're good there. So we should be all right on the anti-ice. Basically a lazy left turn. Follow this thing around. Look at the autopilot on for a second. Let's take a look. Nothing to see, is there? Nothing to see. I'll hand fly it. Click the autopilot off. Hand fly this departure since there's nothing to look at. The chrono! We got the chrono working, man. We're in the Romulus scripted airplane, so I don't have to remember. Thank you, Dimitri. I do have room for more emojis. We got to create. I'm definitely thinking of creating an emoji about you guys yelling at me for the chrono. But yeah, we are in the Tango Delta. We have the Romulus chrono script. So basically, at gear up, the timer will automatically start. Oops, that's QFE. Why did I do that? There we go. Very cloudy, it was. When I loaded in, I thought it was going to be sunny, but then refreshed the weather, and not very good. Man, I love this sound, though. Maybe if we go to this wing view here, I could move this DU to the left so I can still hand fly. I love that sound. I miss flying. Good news is, I think I'm going to be back in the saddle come June. At least I hope so, because if I'm not, I'm going to expire in my currency. Looking juicy. Hand fly for the win, XP. Yes, sir. I don't know if you guys have heard it from me before, or if you ever watched the Threshold podcast that X-Plane 1972 is part of with the Threshold website. And it's actually really, they got a bunch of fantastic podcasts. They actually just did one with I&I builds for the A300. Really cool stuff. Check it out. But when I was doing the podcast with him, I mentioned that what a lot of guys don't understand, unless you are typed on the Airbus and fly the Airbus, that the Airbus really is and truly is a joy to hand fly. Yes, it's fly-by-wire, but that just takes all the non-fun stuff out of flying. You're going through flight training. What's one of the things that you hate having to do all the time and having to correct for? It's probably trimming the airplane, right? Especially if you're in a 172 and you're doing a long cross country, you just get everything all set nice and trimmed out finally, and then you got to change your speed, and then you have to retrim again. I'm not saying it's not fun, but it just more steps, right? Take all that away and just fly. That's what the Airbus does, and it is a joy, man. It truly is a joy to hand fly. We're hand fly there out of 11. Keep it stable. Let's go ahead and get some of these lights off now that we're above 10,000 feet. Ding the flight attendants. Let them know. Start doing what you got to do. We also need to check our cruise altitude. I don't know if we can quite make 38 at this weight. All right, we'll go ahead and set AP1 here. I'm going to select speed. One of you guys were asking in the Discord. Let me go to the MCP panel here. One of you guys were asking me. I'm going to turn down some sounds too because this is pretty loud. We'll turn you down to 30 and we'll do master internal 50%. Hopefully that's better for you guys. So, one of you guys were asking in the Discord about when do you use the expedite push button in the Airbus. So, before I get back into the chat, I'm going to explain this real quick. I see a lot of questions in the chat too, but I wanted to answer this. The expedite push button, I've covered it briefly before, but essentially what this button does is it can expedite the climb of the aircraft or the descent of the aircraft, and it will expedite it at a very, very dramatic pace. So in the climb phase, right now, if I am in thrust climb, Tor, Illerston, bro, coming in with 200 Norwegian krone. Thank you so much, man. The super chat sticker saying you are amazing. No, Tor, you are amazing, man. Thank you so much, dude, for your support on this channel. I mean, positive rates. All my members, come on, positive rates. I've been slacking on the positive rates as well because I gotta reach over and click the mouse button. Tor, thank you so much, man, for your support. Really appreciate it. I appreciate you calling me amazing, but really, guys, you are the amazing ones, because without you, I wouldn't want to do that. I wouldn't want to be, I wouldn't have anybody to stream to or teach to, and I love teaching Airbus, and you guys are so receptive that you guys are amazing. So thank you. I really appreciate it, Tor. Absolutely outstanding, dude. Thank you. back to what I was saying there. So the expedite push button in the climb mode, if I were to press expedite, what's going to happen is the airplane is immediately going to pitch for green dot. And green dot is going to be way down there. It's probably going to be around 250 knots or so. Now, nothing bad will happen. The airplane's not going to stall. But what can happen is that the airplane is going to, one, space shuttle through the freaking airspace. So if ATC is like, wow, what, he's climbing at 8,000 feet a minute out of nowhere. Another member, Mark Lindley. Thank you so much, man. Welcome to Commercial Pilot, dude. Really appreciate your support. Positive rates in chat for you. Brent Norman, $10 bomb. Thank you so much, Brent. He says, a long-time follower. Love the channel. Learning the A320 now. Love learning from the pros. Stay safe and glad to hear you'll be airborne soon. Brent, thank you so much, man, for your support on the channel. I'm glad that you are learning the A320. Awesome, dude. Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it. So I'm gonna get through this expedite push button. I swear, you guys are just you guys are amazing. You're the amazing ones. So if I were to press expedite, it's going to bleed all my speed and trade it for pitch and vertical speed, right? Which that's okay, but it's very dramatic for climb rate. It's dramatic for the passengers, and when you start talking about high altitude aerodynamics and jet aircraft, when you bleed all that speed, sometimes it can be very hard and almost impossible to recover that energy at that top altitude that you're climbing to. So it's very important to have a balance of conservation of energy as you climb through the flight levels, especially in heavier aircraft and the higher that you're going. So what we do, instead of using the expedite push button in the climb phase, I will select speed, and look, I'll just dial it back 10 or 15 knots. I'll set 310. Now look what happens. The airplane is going to maintain maximum thrust because I'm in a thrust climb mode. I am in open climb. So actually I should be pointing here. I'm in climb. Man, I really should be in this mode. Technically. Thrust climb, open climb. This is how it should be set. So the airplane's going to give me maximum thrust, and it's going to pitch for 310 knots. Look at my climb rate now, 3,200 feet a minute, and we're really increasing the climb rate, but I don't have to worry about bleeding all of my speed, because what happens when you get down to green dot? You can't go any slower. So then you're going to have to level out, and you're going to be climbing at 100 to 200 feet for the duration of your climb out. And ATC's going to be like, what the heck are you doing, man? Can you not climb and maintain? Level off, speed up, and then you got to climb again. So that's where you can get into trouble with the expedite in the climb phase. So we prefer to select speed, just dial it back. I'm going to dial back 300 for our climb out. And look, it's going to pitch up again. You're going to have a better rate of climb, but you're still maintaining that energy. Now, word of caution. When you do this trick, the real airplane, well, actually, I don't know. I think the real airplane has new software now. I don't think this flight factor represents it. But if you are in select speed at indicated, as you transition into the Mach number, this won't change. So there's a potential for overspeeding. And I think I did it on one of my streams a while back, and I just kind of ignored it briefly. But if you don't come back here and remanage your speed or select Mach number, it will try to maintain 300 indicated. And you try to maintain 300 indicated at 380, you're going to be overspeeding the airplane, I guarantee it. So that's the only caution you got to have there when you select speed like this in a climb out phase. Make sure you transition back to Mach number. Now, real quick, let's get into the descent phase here. If you were to expedite descent, it's going to pitch for red line, and you're going to be coming down. So what we prefer to do is just select speed, open descent, speed brakes out, and manage it that way so you don't go straight to the red line and have a risk of overspeeding the aircraft there. So, all right, off my soapbox for there until you guys ask another question. Let me get back to the chat. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much, man. Again, Brent and Tor, absolutely astonishing. You guys are awesome. Plus the new member, which was Mark Lindley. Awesome, man. Thank you. All right, I'm going to get right to the chat, guys, and get back to the chat. This is what we're here for. So, Mr. Dillon, what's going on, man? I'll wait till you finish the explanation. All right, yeah, sorry, guys. I just got a little tangent there. Jeremy Harvey, what's up, man? It says, when can you explain accept, maintain means in PDC? When would you put it in the FCU? When would it be in selected mode? When you can you explain what expect, maintain? Oh, expect. Oh, accept, maintain. Okay, so when you file a flight plan, when you file a flight plan, you're going to have a cruise altitude in your filing, right? Probably 380, 360, whatever it is. Air traffic control is not, for the most part, unless you're in I know Mexico is notorious for doing, they clear you right to your cruise altitude from the get-go. Boom, you take off, climb to 380. But in the United States and in, I would imagine, Europe and a lot of other busier airspaces, you're going to get an accept maintain, which is you're cleared to your cruise altitude, but you're going to maintain this altitude until we clear you. The reason they put that clause in there is for a lost communication procedure. So, what are we? Tap 533, or you're cleared via the whatever Orlando 4 departure. Climb and maintain 10,000. Expect 350. In 10 minutes or less, or whatever it may be. That expect is for lost communication. So if you take off and you lose your radio communications, you have a systematic approach to what altitude you need to maintain. Now, I can go, lost comms is something that I would have to explain in a separate video, and the procedure and how you deal with lost communications in flight. There's a whole list of accolades that you got to do, or not accolades, there's a whole list of items that you need to do in order to be at the right place at the right time, at the right altitude, and ATC will know and expect where you're going to be. So when you lose communications in an airplane, it's not, I mean, it's a big deal, but it's not a crazy deal, because as long as you follow the steps as a pilot, the air traffic control is going to know exactly where you're going and what altitude you're going to be at, as long as you're doing your job correct. So that's what that clause is in the clearance. Mr. Dillon, what's up, man? He said, I'm starting to wonder if it is worth starting my ATPL course at the end of the year with all this issues. Mr. Dillon, let me tell you, man, nobody is going to be able to see into the future, so it's always a risk, right? But as far as your training goes, I will say this. There is no time like the present to get on it and get it done. So many times in aviation, and a lot of guys that want to become pilots, is we tend to put off, okay, well, maybe I'm not going to do it now, I'm going to wait. And then something else comes up, and then this corona came up, and then what happens after the coronavirus? So I'm going to say, I'm not going to tell you to do either or, but I will tell you this. There is no time like the present, but make sure you have a backup plan as well. Like, let's say you go through your ATPL course, you get your ratings, maybe the uptake to getting air travel is not as fast as we thought or anticipated it would be. So what is your backup plan going to be in that point? So I would say there's no time like the present to get your training done and knock your ratings out of the way. The sooner you get it done, the better. However, you need to also maintain a big picture awareness and have a backup plan. Martin, what's up, man? He says, what's the best retro jet for X-Plane? FlyJ Sim, 7.3. Oh, dude, that is a tough one. 732, MD-88, or the 727. Martin, I would rank all three of those the best retro jets. Really, it's going to come down, in my opinion, it's going to come down to maybe which one do you like better? Maybe you like the appearance of one better. I will say this, the 727 does not have a cabin, which for some people can kind of ruin the immersion. And I'll be honest with you, it kind of does a little bit for me, but I enjoy the cockpit and the flying of the 727 so much that it's not going to stop me from flying it. When you get in the 737-200 and you see the detailed cabin and the windows and everything, it adds I mean, it's nice. But they are freaking awesome. They are all awesome. The MD-88 is not as retro, so keep that in mind. The MD-88 is more of a different airplane. It's not traditionally retro. It has some, you know, it has VNAV capability. I believe it has auto land capability. So I don't even know. That's a good question. Does the MD-80 have auto land capability? I think it does. I don't know if the one X-Plane that we have does. But it's got some really good capabilities. It's just displayed differently in the only, and it's a very unique airplane. There is no airplane or cockpit like the MD-80 than the MD-80. You can kind of relate cockpits across the board from company to company, but for some reason that MD-80 just sticks out as the most unique one out there. So I would do that. I would kind of, you know, which one do you prefer? Flying Guitarist, MEA Avenue F. That's it, man. That's it. What is my opinion on the Rotate MD-80? Well, there you go, man. I freaking love it. It's a blast to fly. I love the MD-80. Giuliano says, V1, what is the best method to have a stabilized approach so that you can be aligned with the runway? All right, guys, stabilized approach. Where are my members at? What do I always say for being stable on speed on the approach? What's the window we're looking for? 2,000 feet above touchdown zone. So if you're at sea level, that's going to be 2,000 MSL. If you're at a high altitude airport, you want to make sure you have the right altitude, but you want to be 2,000 feet above touchdown zone at 180 knots in flaps config 2 in the Airbus. At that point, when you hit that 2,000 foot mark, that's when you begin your final configurations. That's when you're going to come up here and look. I was talking about not switching over to Mach. Look, I'm at 31,000 feet. The airplane will overspeed if I leave it in indicated speeder. So I'm just going to go ahead and select Mach, and I'm going to dial it back to 7.8 Mach, and now I should be safe. But that's what I was talking about, that overspeed, if you forget to do that. Shoot, what was I saying? I lost my train of thought. Oh, yeah, 2,000, 180 knots. And at that point, that's when you're going to manage your speed, drop the gear, and then begin configuring on speed. So VFE next minus 10. So whatever the flap indicator line is, 10 knots below that, and drop it out. And then you will be on speed and stable by 1,000 feet almost every single time. Now, there are some exceptions to that rule. Coming into, look at all the members. Look at you guys are awesome. Coming in with the answers. There you go. 180 knots, flaps 2 at 2,000. There are some exceptions to that, such as crazy approaches. This approach in particular that we're going to do today into Madeira is going to be different. We're not going to follow that rule of thumb because you have to have the airplane configured at a little bit earlier. When you're coming into tight airports, I configure earlier. Airports that have steeper approach paths than 3 degrees, you're going to want to configure a little bit earlier, be ahead of the airplane. But as a general rule, that 2,000, 180 flaps 2, you're going to be golden, man. Oh, no MD-80 Autoland. Awesome. All right, so there you go. Can't do it. Best long-haul Airbus for X-Plane. We don't really have a true long-haul other than the A350, and I don't have that airplane, man. I don't fly it, so you'd have to be between the 19, 20, and 21, and I would say the 19, because the 19's got the best range out of all of them. But when the 350 comes out, we'll see. Maybe we'll see. And how about distance for that window? So you're talking about distance from the runway. I wouldn't. I don't want to give you a distance from the runway. I would say final approach fix, minimum. like if you're at the because the final approach fix is going to be maybe 3 mile final. And if you're not already configuring, it's going to get tight. So I would say maybe 5 miles, maybe between 3 to 5 miles. Give yourself a little bit extra time there as you become more experienced. But if you're on an approach, you should already have vertical planning, right? So if you're on an RNAV or an ILS or a VOR, you have vertical step downs that you need to meet. So as long as you're following those vertical step downs, when you hit that window, you'll be good. Generally speaking, of course. Now, if it's a purely visual, there's no approach in there, give yourself 3 to 5 miles. Like, so you're just doing purely visual, hand flying, nothing. No lateral guidance, no vertical guidance. Just give yourself a 3 to 5 window. What I'll say is kind of a more broader window. If you meet the 10 miles at 250 knots, oh, I'm sorry, I spoke wrong. 30 miles, 10,000 feet, 250 knots, you can make any airport, make any approach. So if you come into your fixed info box in here, whatever airplane you're flying, whether it be the flight factor, well, I don't think the flight factor will work, but in the TOLUS 321, in the Boeing, basically any other airplane that has a fixed info page that's modeled, which is pretty much all of them except these. So we're going to LPMA. What I would do here is I would do this, and then I would put a 30 nautical mile radius around the airport. Now let's see if it actually draws it. I'm pretty sure it doesn't. Yeah, there's no ring. So there should be a ring around the airport at 30 miles. It doesn't work, of course. But if you meet that window, 30 miles, 10,000 feet, 250 knots, you should be in position to get your aircraft stabilized on an approach and not have any issues whatsoever. How's this radar? Does this radar even work? Oh, not with active sky, right? We'll let it do its thing there. Let's hop outside for a minute. Whoa, on the volume there. I want to try to find the water down there. I saw some nice water for a second. Then it disappeared. Oh well. There we go. Jeremy Harvey, any news on the A300? I don't have any news other than you guys do. I think it's going to be absolutely fantastic airplane. I can't wait for it. I cannot wait. We need to have a quiz stream. Fly Guys. So you know what? And somebody mentioned Flight Deck to Sim is a second ago. Where was that comment? Tesla Guy said you saw what Flight Deck to Sim did in the 7.2 with instruments and blind weather. Now that's a hold my beer if I've ever seen one. Yeah, no, I did not see. I saw him streaming briefly, but I wasn't at home. I just saw it on my phone pop up. But I'll have to check the landing out. I know he's in the 7.2. I love seeing anybody fly the 727. It's a freaking awesome airplane. But I'll have to talk to Flight Deck to Sim first. I'll ask him if I could kind of steal his idea of that quiz in cruise. I really like it. I sat through one of his streams, well, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 streams ago, and he did a giveaway stream, essentially to give away a couple items for quizzes. And I sat there, man, I'm so out of the loop in currency. I was like, man, what is the answer? I don't know. You guys were answering in chat before I could even think of the answer. I think he asked a METAR question. What is the smoke identifier? You know, FU for fume air or fume. But I think that'd be a really fun idea. But I'm not gonna just steal it from him. I'll ask him to see if we can come up with something along the lines. I think it'd be fun to have a quiz as well en route. Flying Guitar says, I've used the 10,000 at 30 nautical miles in the 727 when I didn't use a star. It really helped. Thank you very much. Awesome, man. Yeah, if you use that 30-mile ring, you should be good to go from there. Can you feel the difference between direct law and normal law in the real airplane or in the sim? Definitely you can. Direct law is a very sensitive, very twitchy flight phase to be in because you have a direct relationship between side stick deflection and elevator deflection. So it can become very twitchy. Now, in one of the very first videos I did when I compared the TOLUS to the Flight Factor 320, I went into alternate law, then we did some direct law flying. And the airplanes do respond differently in the sim, and I mean, they do have it modeled at some point. I do think the TOLUS 319, I say the 319 because I haven't even tested the 321 yet in abnormal flight characteristic phases, but the 319 really simulates for a fair decent simulation of alternate and direct law. So the flight factor was pretty decent as well, but I didn't really, it's been so long ago now, I'd have to take them both through the ringer again to see the difference. But I mean, who puts, I mean, probably less than 1% of anybody who has the flight factor, the TOLUS, is going to put the airplane into abnormal law, or I'm sorry, alternate law or direct law. But it is modeled. They do have a change in flight characteristics. Clear direct foobar. Okay, hold on. Before I answer your question, I'm looking up where this foobar intersection is on SkyVector because I've heard it so many times. I can't remember where it is. Is it on the East Coast? Fubar. It's not a fix? Maybe it's not spelled F-U-B-A-R. But F-U-B... Yes, it is a fix. It's Fubar. It's spelled F-U-B-R-R, and it's on the East Coast, right there next to Baltimore. Yep, that would explain why it's always in my head, because I keep hearing... I used to fly... I might still fly on the East Coast, but when I was flying the regional level, I was based in Philly, so... Fubar. All right, let me get to your question, man. I love that. What about when ATC tells you to maintain 170 knots until final? Seems like a real challenge to get your fly and flap setting drop. Yeah, it definitely will be. So there are restrictions with ATC, of course, guys. So, I'm telling you, 180 knots, flaps to 180 is fine. But you do have to obey air traffic control. So 170 is not bad. Just wait till they say maintain 200. You go into Atlanta, they keep you fast. You go into Chicago, they do a pretty good job of slowing you down. They try to at least get you guys slowed first, but sometimes they'll say 180 to 5 or 3 out. Now, typically on the Airbus, it's not that big of a deal. But sometimes it can get hairy. And I remember going into Boston one time, and I mean, this chick, the approach controller, was like, yeah, can you maintain 210 to 3 out? And I'm just like, yes. But, yeah, she really was testing our skills on that one. We got it down. You just sling the gear. The biggest speed break you have in the Airbus specifically, is your landing gear. If you're on a speed restriction and you're coming into land and they're saying, hey, maintain this and this, and you think that you are going to be getting close to not being stable, the first thing you should do when you get relief on your speed is lower the landing gear. That should be the first thing you do. Are you guys hearing a crackling? I'm hearing a crackling, but I think it's rain. It is rain effects. We have rain. Okay. It's apparently raining up here. How about turn the engine anti-ice on? We'll turn the seatbelts off. But you guys see that? No? I thought I saw rain effects for a second. I could have sworn I heard rain. Alright, don't do this. You would never want to do this at Mach 7-8. I'll set manage speed here. You don't want to turn the wipers on. Okay, no, I thought there was rain or something. Interesting. We'll turn the ice back off. Weird. I thought I was hearing raindrops. How do you increase performance in X-Plane 11? Turn down your graphics settings, man. I would start there. South End says, do the Gatwick Challenge. I did look it up. I looked up the Gatwick Challenge, guys, and I think it's absolutely hilarious. I love it. We will do it. We'll do the Gatwick Challenge. We'll do it before we leave Europe. Fly Guy, what's up, man? Does someone have a good freeware scenery within the Pilot Edge network? There's a couple of them. Mr. X has got a couple out there. Phoenix is in Pilot Edge network. I believe, is there a Salt Lake one as well? There's a couple out there, Fly Guy. V-Fighter said the VOR circled to land 2 years ago. After my B1 engineer run-up training, we had some time left on a commercial 320 full flight sim with motion and operation. It was a lot of fun. Dude, that's awesome. Awesome, dude. Yeah, this will be... I have not even... Disclaimer. I have not even attempted one practice approach. So we're going to be going in. Once we get to that 250 mile mark, we're really going to buckle down. So we still got some time. We're 466 out. Once we hit the 250 mile marker, we are going to buckle down on the briefing. We're going to read all the airport briefings, all the charts, and we're going to make sure we get it right the first time. I did watch a real 320 video, Captain Joe flying in there when he flew for Air Berlin, I believe. And it's fantastic. There's some key aspects of the approach that I noticed in the video that maybe some of you guys wouldn't notice or wouldn't pick up on. I'm going to highlight that for you when we go in there. Atlanta, New York, make you move real fast, definitely. Do you have a favorite classic pre-Cold War? Ooh, P51 is pretty iconic for me. I love the P51. And why do I love the P51? Well, just to hear it, if you ever hear a P51, you pull out of a dive and you hear that whistling sound, the airflow, pretty darn good. I do have a soft spot. I guess you can't. Is the Sabre pre-Cold War? Does that count? I have a soft spot for the Sabre. I really do. F-86 Sabre, have a soft spot for that bird. What does the crank option in the engine mode selector do? Good question. And I believe this was asked on the Discord earlier too. When do you use this? So let's come down here. Let's look at the engine mode selector.
Subscriber ahead. Look up.
Thank you for the subscriber. Okay, now we're not going to show me the names, huh? I didn't see the name. Oh, there it is. Samir, appreciate it, man. Thank you for subscribing, man. Welcome to the channel. All right, let's talk a little bit about the engine mode selector. So, 3 positions: crank, norm, ignition, start. Crank does nothing in flight. At least it shouldn't. I hope I didn't screw anything up. Let's see. Does it do anything in flight? It shouldn't do anything in flight. Yeah, it does nothing in flight. So what the crank mode is for, well, let's start with what we know. Ignition start, right? Ignition start is going to spool up the starter, start the ignitions, and then at the proper time, fuel. It's all automatic, right? It's all FADEC controlled. Fuel is going to be introduced, but the ignition start is going to start motoring the engine, and it's going to start firing the igniters. That way, on schedule, when fuel is introduced, you're going to get light off, and it's going to start the engine. Now, what we forgot to test was a manual start. Is there a manual start with push button up here? Yes, there is. Man start 1 and 2. So maybe on the next stream, if I remember, we'll try to do a manual engine start. So ignition start fires igniters and motors the engine. Engine starts up on sequence, automatic according to Airbus. Perfect.
Subscriber ahead.
The greatest. Matt, appreciate it, man. Thank you for subscribing, dude. Normal mode is what it is. Normal mode. It just, engine operation is in normal mode. We're going to come back to that. Crank mode will motor the engine. Mahu, thank you for the subscribe, man. Crank mode will motor the engine like it's starting. So essentially, it's cranking the starter, but it is not going to it's not going to allow the start sequence to commence. So you're not going to get fuel. You're not going to get ignition. You're just going to motor the engine around. Now, why would you want to crank the motor? The reason for that is, let's say you have some sort of start malfunction and your ITT is very hot. One way to cool it down is to crank the motor, get air flowing through the engine, get rid of the unburnt fuel that could be in the engine, get all that stuff cleared out. Now, there are limitations with the crank switch, but that would really be the only reason that you would use it, or a maintenance function on the ground. I can't tell you the last time I've used the crank switch in real life. I think I've used it maybe once, and maybe I would say maybe twice, and it was because the same airplane that would do maintenance stuff, and I can't even remember what the reason was. In the sim, you'll use the crank switch. You'll simulate a motoring and all that stuff, but that's what the crank would do. Now, back to normal mode. Somebody asked, when would you put the switch into ignition in cruise? You can put the switch into ignition start to begin firing the igniters. Now, why would you want to do that? So let's go ahead and do this. Let's go ignition start. Look at that. A and B igniters are firing. If you turn this on, some guys will do it in heavy rain, heavy turbulence en route. Would be the only reason that you would turn this on en route. Now, let's say you're on an approach to landing and you're flying through some nasty weather. It's turbulent as all heck. It's raining, and you want to get the igniters on. Might not be a bad idea. Throw the ignition start switch to ignition start. That would keep it constant. The engine is a self-sustaining engine anyway, but for some reason, if something were to happen, you have that little backup insurance knowing that your igniters are still firing to relight should you flame out. But in the normal position, if the engine senses, or if the FADEC senses an engine flame out, the ignition will automatically start firing and it will attempt to restart the engine as long as you're in the normal mode. So it's smart enough to know that, hey, we have a flame out right now in cruise, or the engine rolls back, the igniters are going to start firing and it's going to attempt to relight. It is possible, and this has happened and has happened recently, that an engine will fail in flight, will roll back, restart, and nothing will be done by the flight crew. It is possible, and it has happened and happened recently here in the States. It was an A320 on a repo flight that the engine rolled back, the igniters kicked off, and it relighted. So that's why you keep it in the normal mode. You can't throw it into ignition start, probably up in cruise. Now, I was going to say one more thing about the ignitions on the descent and approach to landing. As soon as you extend flaps 1, your igniters are going to start firing anyway. So if you're clean, you could turn it on, manual ignition, or throw flaps 1 out. Or if you're flying in icing conditions, let's take a look. I believe the ignition should be firing right now. Yeah, we're not going to see it on any of these pages. It would be on the engine. I believe. Now, this could be... Oh, there it is. It's not on there. I'm sorry. This one. Engine anti-ice, wing anti-ice. I believe it should say engine ignition as well. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty positive you have anti-ice on. You're going to have engine ignition in the normal position as well. That fault light go out? Yeah, it did. All right, so that's our engine crank selection study session as I blast your ears yet again. All right, guys, real quick, I'm going to get back to the questions, but I have to open up my room here, turn the fan on, because it is wicked hot. I'll be right back. All right, we're back. I hope I turned the fan on low, so I really hope it's not beating into the microphone. If you guys hear problems with the microphone picking up with the fan, let me know. I'll turn it back off. All right, so back to the chat here. I know I missed a lot of stuff. Jeremy Harvey, is there a specific order to which you mention items when you give your approach briefing? Yes, typically you're going to brief. Let's pull up just a random approach here. Let me just pull up this because we have it open. RNP 9er. So the way that you typically want to brief, and you want to train to brief the same way, especially when you work at an airline, because that way everyone's on the same page. Start with the briefing strip. It's even labeled briefing strip. You're going to have your approach course, mandatory altitudes, your DA, airport elevation, MSAs. I don't read this box here. This is too much for a briefing. What I read is the missed approach, which would be right here, unless, of course, it says refer to missed approach section above. But typically they'll have, an arrow, a right turn, and an altitude. And then I'll just brief that. I won't brief vocally, anyway, this. I mean, I'll read it, but I won't brief it out loud. And then, of course, any other special applicabilities to the approach chart. But I always start left to right from the top. That's how I brief an approach. Let's close all these while we're in here. We don't need them right now. LPMA. Boom. VOR visual runway 5.
Donation.
Julian, thank you so much, man, for the $5 bomb, dude. Really appreciate it. He says, oops, let me scroll it out here. Julianne Ramadani? Man, I really appreciate it, man. $5 bomb. He says, assuming an approach is stabilized, how do you maintain with runway centerline prior to touchdown? Also, big thanks for your previous answer, Captain. You're awesome. No, you're awesome, man. Thank you. Appreciate your support here on the channel. So, assuming that you're stabilized, how do you maintain centerline prior to touchdown? All right, so in a no-wind configuration, or a no-crosswind, it's going to be pretty much self-explanatory. If you're in the captain's seat, you're going to be trying to align the center line stripes of the runway with, I mean, you can use this bar right here. Technically, I think it's a little bit more over. It's kind of like on the inside. It's like right here. But if you just kind of imagine the center line of the runway coming right here, you know you're going to be on center line. Because the nose wheel, it's pretty big. The nose wheel is right here. So you want to be, you're not sitting directly on the nose wheel, so you're going to be a little bit offset. But as a guide, just use this bar right here to keep the airplane straight. Now, in a crosswind configuration, that's where things get a little bit tricky. You're going to need to do, in an airliner anyway, a kind of a crab method. You're going to let the airplane weather vane into the wind. So if you had a wind from the right, the airplane's going to be turning into the wind, right? It's going to be weather vaning into the wind. So you're just maintaining center line with your ailerons, lateral control. As you begin to flare, that's when you need to straighten the airplane with the center line of the runway with the rudders. So if you have a wind from the right, the airplane's nose is into the right. So we need to add left rudder to bring the nose straight and align the longitudinal axis of the airplane with the center line. When you do that, the wind is going to now push you to the left because the airplane is no longer weather vaned into the wind, right? So it's not correcting, it's just you straightened it out, so now it's going to blow off center line. The way you correct that is with right aileron to bring the airplane back over the center line of the runway. So that would be an example of how to maintain center line on the approach. And we'll talk more about that, especially as we get into our approach and landing too. All right. Let's see. Let me scroll back down to the chat. I know I missed a lot of stuff there. Mike is good. All right. Dimitri, what's up, man? I haven't been reading too much stuff from my mods. Sorry, guys. Just skipping over the mods there. My bad. Dimitri says, folks, let's get 250 likes. The captain's working hard today. Show some appreciation. Yes, I would appreciate that, guys. Yeah, if you can, hit that like button. It does help the channel out. So if you do like the content, hitting the like button is not just something that I say for randomness. It does help the channel grow. It does help the channel awareness get out there. So if you're enjoying the content, please do hit the like button. I would really appreciate it. 299 watching. That's awesome. That's awesome. Let's get the likes up. Appreciate it, guys. All right, Edward says, what is your least favorite failure in the sim? Level D. Mine would be unreliable airspeed. Yes, unreliable airspeed, dude. Edward, yep, unreliable airspeed. I hate that one. But it was very eye-opening to me when we did the unreliable airspeed. And for you guys that aren't pilots or haven't been in the sim, it may be hard to understand what the whole concept of unreliable airspeed. But essentially what happens in the 320 or in the Airbus family is in the simulator you'll be taken off or in some phase of flight where you're going to get conflicting signals. You're going to get a speed readout here, you'll get a speed readout here and a speed readout here, and they'll probably all be different. So you got to figure out which one is correct, and you have to use there's a couple different tools available to find that out. And it can be a challenge because you're going to have conflicting. One of the hardest things as a pilot is getting conflicting warnings. Wiley Butler, $5 bomb. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate it, dude. Don't see a message with your super chat. I hope I'm not missing one, but Wiley, thank you so much for your support on the channel, man. Thank you. What I was saying is, yeah, you have to determine which airspeed is correct, and conflicting warnings can be. It almost, if you're not prepared for it, and it's hard to be prepared for something like that because it's going to bite you. It's going to bite you in the butt if you're not prepared for it. But you're not always going to be thinking about it. So there's a moment in time when you hear an overspeed and stall warning protection come on at the same time. Hearing those sounds can really freeze up a pilot because we're trained to react to a situation and remedy the situation. So when I hear alarms, I'm trained to react to them. But when my reactions are opposite of each other, what do you do? And that's where the whole unreliable airspeed simulation training. Air France 447 kind of can get into that category a little bit of what happens. And I tell you what, it can be a challenge. Now, in the X-plane, it'd be pretty hard to do. Some of the most handy tools are the backup speed scale, not simulated in any of the X-plane aircraft, but it would be a push button here. It says backup speed scale, and when you press that switch, what it would do is basically puts a AOA indicator on your airspeed. So you now are looking off AOA. You have fast, slow, and really fast. And that's the windows that you have. In the airplanes that don't have the backup speed scale, there is a way to get to them, and that has to do with the configuration of your ADIRs up top. But we're not going to get into that. But yeah, unreliable airspeed, definitely. Quick rundown of my sim gear. Okay, so right now I'm flying the Airbus, so I use my Thrustmaster Warthog side stick. I'm using my Satec X56 throttle quadrant and some Satec ProFlight pedals, which no longer have a spring in them. So whenever I depress a brake or a deflection in the rudder, I have to take that rudder out with the opposite foot because they're just they've been beat up, mostly not really from use from me abusing them, but they've been through a couple moves. I moved houses a couple times, and I've been lugging these pedals around for a while, and I think in some of the moving they got damaged. But yeah, my pedals, other than the losing the spring tension issue, they're not bad. I mean, I know a lot of guys have some really good reviews on them, and I think if I didn't personally break them, I think I'd really enjoy them. But I am going to be trying to change those out at some point. How common is out disagree? Pretty common if the other guy's busy doing something and you set your altimeter and he didn't. Swappy coming in with a $2 bomb. Thank you. Says, what is the difference between MDA and DA? When to use it? Are you going to update your professional series? Oh my gosh, why can't I see all these messages? Are you going to update your professional Airbus series? You mentioned this in one of your stream. And also, could you open your flight control page before landing to see your active? Oh, your inputs? Let me know if that's what you meant to say, Swappy. For some reason, I'm having a hard time seeing the very long messages. But let me start with the beginning of your question. Thank you for your support. Appreciate it. He says, what's the difference between MDA and DA? Simply put, MDA is a minimum descent altitude. It's going to be in a barometric form, so it's going to be set here, and you're going to read it off your altitude here. A DA, or decision altitude, sometimes referred to as a decision height, is going to be off your RADALT, or your radio altimeter. When to use which? Generally speaking, this is not for all scenarios, generally speaking, you're always going to use your MDA, and you're going to read it off of your altitude here. For Cat 2 and Cat 3 approaches, you will probably use a decision altitude or a decision height, which is your, and I kind of misspoke on that too, but for sim purposes it's fine. So real pilots out there, just calm down. Decision height is going to be off your RADALT. Now, if you just do MDA pretty much for every approach that you do, where's my approach face? MDA, well, we have to do an MDA on this one because it doesn't have any vertical guidance. But if you just use the MDA, even on an ILS, you're fine. Cat 2, Cat 3, that's when you have restrictions on decision height, and that's going to be your height above the ground, which typically is going to come off your radio altimeter. And he says, yes, your inputs. Yeah, Swappy, I'll try to remember to do that, have the flight control page up so we can see the inputs on landing. But that's a good idea. And will I update the Airbus Professional Series? It's something I would like to do, but I've got a lot going on right now with the corporate jet series and stuff that it's kind of, if I do it, it's going to be on the back burner for a while. But it is something that I would like to do. Have you got Madeira scenery? Yes. So let me put a link. Everybody walking or wanting to know about the scenery. Mad Dog Gamer, or I'm sorry, Mr. Dad Gamer. Welcome to Private Pilot, man. Thank you for joining the channel. Positive rates, definitely, man. Thank you so much for joining the channel. Exclamation point welcome for your new perks. Speaking of perks, the podcast for May 1st shall probably be out. I'm really going to try to get it done tonight, finish up the edit tonight. If not, I'll probably really release it on over the weekend. I just had a lot going on yesterday, and I got a lot going on tomorrow, and the edit's pretty much done. I just want to clean it up for you guys, so expect that podcast to drop this weekend. Now, scenery. Let me pull up the scenery that I'm using, and I will put it in the Nightbot for you. So there's a couple different ones out there for X-Plane. Like I said, there's an older one that has a really good runway layout, but the textures, the ground textures, are just not good. They're old. They're dated. They're probably like FS98 level. So this is the scenery that I'm using with some ortho that Dimitri's helped me with, because I believe it's only zoom level 16 on here, but Dimitri's helped me get a little better orthos. This scenery happens to have some volumetric grass and trees that I like as well, but the runway does not look near as good as the older scenery. So let me add a command for you guys here, because you're probably all going to be asking for it. It's going to be ! scenery. And here is the link, submit it. So hopefully Nightbot will pick up on that. But that is the scenery I am using. Swappy says, but why do some of the charts mention DA, parentheses, H as an ILS Cat 1 approach, then mention MDA? Right, and that's where I caught myself when I was explaining to you that I screwed up. But since you caught me and called me out on it. So DA, decision altitude, technically is the altitude above sea level, so MSL. So that's going to be on your altitude right here. DH, decision height, is specifically and always and will always be height above ground on your rad out. So decision height is a radio altimeter readout. Decision altitude can still be read out right here on your MSL altitude. So on an ILS Cat 1 approach, the DA, you throw that in. Now in our Airbuses that we use, the approach, let's see, these boxes are different. It doesn't say MDA or DH. What it says is Baro or RAD. That's what the new software in the Airbuses say for your minimums. It'll say Baro minimums or radio altimeter minimums. And we only use radio altimeter when we do Cat 2, Cat 3. And sometimes even on Cat 2, you're not going to use a RAD out. You'll use something else as a minimum. Making me work today, guys. Making me work. I love it. I love it. CNT had to leave for a bit, but back for this awesome approach. Yes, man, we were just about ready to start prepping for the approach. A couple more questions here, and then we're going to go full-blown into the approach mode. Jeremy Harvey says, V1, how are you supposed to fly the Airbus with auto thrust off and manually move the thrust levers when you have to go through those detents? You can use it all the way up to the, I mean you use it just like you would a Boeing. You turn the auto thrust off, and the detent is nothing other than a detent. If you want climb power, just go straight to the detent. There is power available, and it's not replicated in the Flight Factor 320, but there is power available between climb and MCT. There is still a thrust range here. So between flex and climb, depending on what your flex is, there is still a level of thrust capable. You can stop in between the two here. This is all it is a physical detent in the position of the throttle quadrant. But you would use it just like a real airplane, like a Boeing. So typically, you're not going to be bumping that climb detent unless you're in a bad situation, though. Most of the time, auto thrust off, if you're on approach to landing, you're going to be near the idle position anyway, or maybe 50% thrust or something.
Ahead. Look up.
Thank you for the subscribe. Have I ever picked up icing in flight? And if so, how did it affect the aircraft? Yeah, I actually, in this winter, I picked up some serious icing. Probably the most icing I've ever seen on an Airbus. It was brutal, and it was scary. Honestly, when we disengaged the autopilot, the controls felt pretty mushy, and it was nearing a buffet. There was a definite vibration of the aircraft. It was, I would call it severe. I would call it severe icing. It'd be one of my few times that I've been involved in severe icing. And severe icing is severe icing by definition means that the aircraft anti-ice and de-ice systems cannot keep up with the level of accretion of ice. So if you stay in it prolonged, you're going to have problems. And I honestly think if we were prolonged in that flight condition, who knows what would happen. It would not have been good. But the ice detector, I mean, there was so much ice on the front of the airplane. This was completely covered up. There was so much ice, even the window heat wasn't taking it all off. There was balls of ice, little ping pong balls of ice building on the sides of the windscreen. And I don't think I'd ever seen that before. I mean, it was serious ice. There was actually a couple aircraft that diverted. And I looked at the guy next to me like, hey man, we're not going around. This is it. We got to put it down right here. So that was scary. Yeah, that happened this last winter. I'm probably saving that story for my podcast as well. But Hipmosy, what's up, man? So what's your favorite airport in the USA? Gosh, I love. You mean? What do you mean, man? Like to fly into or favorite overnight? I really enjoy. I love going to San Diego, man. It's fun. It's a nice airport. It's a fun approach. It's a good overnight. We stay at a DoubleTree there. You get the chocolate chip cookie every time. It's awesome. Do the software updates typically change a lot or are not very noticeable? I would say Flying Guitarist, not very noticeable unless there's a major update, which there hasn't been a major overhaul in quite some time. Most of the time, it's just database stuff. What's the best way to reset auto thrust if you accidentally push too much throttle on takeoff? Well, if you go too much throttle or too much thrust on takeoff, you're not disengaging it unless you went all the way to Toga, which in that point, just bring it back to climb and re-engage the auto thrust. But as long as you don't turn it, if you turn it off by pressing the red button, the best way to do it is just you got to put your thrust levers in the auto thrust range. So as long as your thrust levers are in this white, see the solid white bar here, that is the auto thrust active range. If I move my thrust levers here, I should not be decreasing speed. This is not an accurate representation. That's not really accurate. It should maintain where it is until you disconnect the auto thrust with the instinctive disconnect switch or you turn it to off. Would you report severe icing like you would a wind shear? Absolutely. Absolutely. New Guinea campaign. What's up, man? Welcome to the stream, dude. Thrust says we have that cookie in Newark. Regional series when the Q400 comes out. Hey, man, I'm not typed in the Q400. I don't think I'm capable of giving you guys a professional series on the Q400, but we will definitely be binge flying it. I'll tell you that. One of the aircraft I'm very excited, looking forward to. Swarm says his favorite airport, DFW, means he's going home. You got a point there, Swarm. Definitely, man. Cookies always make a hotel better. Yes, sir, especially when they're warm. Flight surgeon, man, 50-50, dude. Just depends. East, west, north, south. I'd prefer to go west. I like flying out west. East Coast it's clapped out, man. There's just so much traffic, or at least there was before Corona hit. I mean, East Coast was just so busy, so many, just a lot. You know, you get burnt out from it. I like flying out west. It's more chill out west. Is there a way to bind the red auto thrust discon buttons in the sim? Because I haven't found it. Flying Guitarist, hey, if you find it, let me know, man. I just found out where the takeover push button was bound. Right here. Actually, we got to start prepping for our descent. We're 230 miles out. This is it. I'm gonna look here in settings real quick. What am I at? Rhino throttle. Do I have this bound to anything? Engage Toga power. I don't think there's anything for the flight factor. Auto thrust, AT. ATO thrust. FCU. Autopilot. Nope, it doesn't. Not that I can find. Because you never press it up here. What did I just do? Oh, I bumped it out of thing. So yeah, the proper way to disengage is always this red button here, or idle, or Toga will disengage. All right. We need to start prepping for this arrival into Madeira. So we've got that pulled up here. Let's pull up the arrival, Santo 4 Alpha. We're going direct to Kubil and then Santo. Okay. And then from there, we need to look at, oops, what am I doing? What am I doing? Let's look at, what's a reference table? Oh, radar minimum altitudes right now, we don't worry about that. We need the 10.9 page. All right, 9,100 foot strip, pretty long strip, so we don't have to worry about that. We're going to be landing runway 5. Do we have current weather? .200 at 9, according to Avitab. What do we got from Simbrief was saying expect gusts to 28. Woof. Alright, so we'll see as we get a little bit closer to, but I think we'll be alright. Alright, so first things first, we're going to be landing runway 5 if all goes as planned. We're going to be circling, so it's going to be a right-hand circle into runway 5, 9,100 foot strip. A couple of turnaround bulbs there, we can do that. Then we're going to back taxi, take Bravo to the apron. Wind limitation when taking off relative to this thing, we're not taking off, so we don't have to worry about that. Everything else looks pretty good. Alright, so let's look at the approach and arrival. Max 250 air below 10. Max 280 between 245 and 10,000. So we're going to need to slow down. After we hit Santo, now I don't know how accurate this, or how not accurate, but how this really programmed here. So let's really look at this. Because I get the SNT09 fix. Oops. SNT09 to Abusu. So essentially, I guess it's taking us here and then Abusu. That's your clearance limit, and then you have to be cleared from there. This is interesting. So we got to do a turn in the hold, minimum holding altitude 3,000 feet. After that, oh, I see why they have that there, because you might have aircraft coming in from the other side. Interesting. So this is your clearance limit. This is interesting. I don't really see this very often. Clearance limit means you can't really go past Abusu unless you're cleared. So minimum is 3,000 feet in the hold. We can pretty much bypass the hold unless we need it. I'll leave it in the box for now. But after that, we go right over the Funchal VOR, and then starts our approach. So we're going to need to track the 211 outbound. So we got a couple things to tune in here. We're going to hard tune. Oop, I should have cleared and copied. Remember at 10,000 feet? I didn't do it on that one. Oh, the meter on Avitab is that type. Look at the Zulu time. I got you. All right, so we'll check it within the sim when we get down there. But I do want to hard tune Fox Uniform November. And I want to hard tune course 211 outbound. All right, so with that outbound, we're taking that all the way to 3.6, which is the missed approach point. If you don't have visual from the runway there, you got to go around. So let's look at this in the box. SNT, Abusu is the hold. We'll deal with that when we get there. FUN, VOR. And then from there, we continue MD 211, course 211. Minimum descent altitude, 940 feet. wish I could. Can I make this? There we go. Make it a little bit bigger. Oh wait, so if I make this, alright. Thought I could make it bigger. By 9th, runway 5. We don't have to worry about that. Both sides PAPI. Not visible. Wind limitations for landing relative to touchdown altimeter. 2 minutes mean values only. Max permissible wind 25 knots. Gust 20 to 30 knots. So we can't have winds over 30 knots from the 190 bearing. I'd love to draw all these out on a fixed info page that worked properly, but we don't have one, so we're going to just have to wing it. And we'll make sure our wind is proper when we get down there. Now, can we make a FUN? Let's see if I'm going to create this waypoint here as a reference. So we're going to do FUN 21106. Insert. What the box think. I feel like this is going to crash my game by doing all this. Alright, so we're good. So what I've done here is I've created a point bearing. PBD01 is going to be our cue to start the right turn. We're going to be following the 211 course outbound until reaching PBD01. So I'll just show you what I did again in case you missed it. I dialed in the VOR, FUN, course 211, and a DME of 6 nautical miles. I dropped that in as a point bearing distance waypoint, and there it is on my ND. So now I can have a little visual reference to when I should start the turn inbound. Minimum altitude at Jello is 850. Is that in the database? Let's see. I don't think so. That doesn't seem like a proper... No, it's not. Now, I don't know if there's a way to program Latin long for this waypoint here. But a couple minimum altitudes, 460 as you roll out on final over the beach, 850 as you cross the island initially. So we'll be keeping eyes on that as we make this right-hand turn. But with the limited box information that we have in the flight factor, that's pretty much all we can tune. Now, if we had a fully functioning fixed info page, I'd probably throw in a lot more stuff. But unfortunately, we don't have that. All right, now for our perf data, let's take a look at our descent. So I'm going to descend at 7.9. And there, what was the restriction? We got to be careful of that again. Below 24.5, it's 280. So I'm just going to set 280 indicated on the descent. So we'll roll with that so we don't have to worry about it. And we're going to need to start down soon. So we know the minimum altitude is 3,000 in the hold. So we're going to dial in 3. What is our top of descent? Should be coming up here pretty soon. 15 miles. And let's put LPMA05 in the box. That looks good. I'm going to copy the active just in case we screw up something. Oh, GEIO? I misspelled the point? Let me see. Let's take a look at it. Let's see if I can put in that waypoint. That would be helpful to have that turn there. So we've got the turn. We've got PBD01. After PBD01, we need to have GEIO. That looks like an L to me. You put G, not G. Oh, I misspelled it. Okay, let me try again. GELO. Hey! Would you look at that? And then how about Rosario? That seems like it's way too long. Hold on, let me spell it. ROSARIO. Yeah, I didn't think that would fit. There must be something about that fix there. But hey, we got Jello, we got Jello in the box. I'm happy with that. So we've got our turn, And then we have Jello, which we know we want to be at 850. So let's go ahead and put altitude constraint of 850 in there. Entry out of range, really? Oh, it's at or minimum 850. Huh. What if I put 900? Will that work? Entry out of range. This says at or above 940. Really? What if I make 940 a hard altitude? Nope. Okay. Well, we'll just let it roll like that then. At least we have another visual. There comes our top of descent. Manage that. Thrust idle descent, down we go. Thank you guys. Thank you for pointing that out. That's pretty cool that that's in the box there. So we're able to throw that in the box. Everything else is in there. We'll deal with the hold when we get there. We'll see if we have to do it. If not, we'll clear it out. Once we cross the VOR, we know we're going outbound 211, minimum of 940 until we start the turn. When we start the turn, we're probably going to start a nice descent. Now, depending on the wind conditions, I noticed in the Captain Joe video when he came in here, his captain disengaged auto thrust for the turn. Initially, I thought, wow, that's interesting. It's pretty ballsy. But then I realized that the wind vortices at this approach and the turbulent nature of the approach here in the turn, you can definitely get the airplane in a situation where you will have unwanted thrust changes. You can have unwanted thrust changes with the auto thrust. So sometimes it is better to use manual control of the thrust. So that's what I'm going to do. And I don't know if it could be company specific. Maybe Air Berlin said, hey, you must have the auto thrust off on this approach because they don't want the power rolling way back in this turn, or they don't want it surging way forward. Sometimes, even on a straight-in approach, if the wind is really bad, Airbus actually recommends to turn off the auto thrust and use manual thrust control. So we're going to turn the auto thrust off just prior to the turn. Also, he did a config full about halfway out. So he was gear down flaps 3 at this mark here. He then started the turn, flaps full, auto thrust off. So we're going to try to configure the same way that they did it in the video, which is flaps 3, gear down at D6.0, which is our PBD-01.
Look up.
All right. So I think that is set. Our minimum descent altitudes, which, I mean, we know it's going to be, we have to see the air, but it really was, what was it here? It's a visual, so there really is no minimum. Thank you for the subscribe there. Appreciate it, Black Belt. So since there is no real minimum published, because it is a visual approach, we're going to just put in 1,000 foot here. 1,000 foot MD8. And then what we need to do is get the wind information from X-Plane. If we can see it by now. I don't know if we can. Let's see. S&T. Right on the corner. 360 at 10. So right now it's not too bad. 3009. So 360 at 10 knots. Nice direct crosswind there on the turn. Temperature, according to SimBrief, was going to be about 1.7. And it was 3009 on the altimeter. So we'll do a little cheaty here. We'll set 3009 on the standby, which gives us 1019 on the QNH. Thank you for the subscribe, man. Appreciate it. All right, 1019 is set in the box. And we are ready to start this craziness. So we got 3,000 set. I'll take a look at our vertical profile once we get just a little bit closer. We may or may not do the hold. We may just skip the hold altogether. How's our fuel looking? We're 5.8 on the fuel. Everything else looks good there. Let's go ahead and start cleaning up the cabin and give ourselves a flyby shot. I wanted to find the water, but I can't really see the water down there. All right, here we go. On the descent. Down we go. Ramon Thompson, what's up, man? Welcome to the chat. This is V1 with the pro tips. You guys helped me out, though, man. That's I like it. I like it. Definitely caught my misspell there, which is a big deal, because that turn, coming out of that turn, that will be a big help having that waypoint in there. And I think I saw Dimitri comment you can just yeah, create a custom waypoint, but then I put in the lat long and all that. We don't need that. We know pretty much roll out straight on final. You're either on or you're off. So I watched a couple videos of just people doing approaches, and I was surprised. I saw like 3 or 4 guys going around, and they seemed pretty stable. I don't know. There might be some windows that for company thresholds there that, hey, if they don't make it, you got to execute a go-around. So real world, I don't know how well the sim is going to represent it, but I can see real world where this approach is definitely up there with some of the most challenging approaches. What's a purpose of putting the wind in the approach page? That is to calculate, or helps calculate VAP and your ground speed mini and a bunch of other things that I don't think are simulated on X-Plane. Gus Papas, this is the Flight Factor A320, man. Captain Tom, what's up, man? Welcome, dude. Just in time. We're on our descent. Gemini Jets 777, you just subbed. Thank you, dude. Appreciate it. I'm sorry if I missed it. All right. 330 watching. We got 227 on the likes. Guys, help a brother out. If you're liking this content, hit that like button for me, please. I'd appreciate it. It does help the channel grow. Guaranteed coronavirus free. Maestro Cross, welcome to Commercial Pilot, dude. Thank you for joining the channel. Exclamation point, welcome for your new perks. Glad to have you on board, man. Tesla Guy, he says, V1, what route do you see San Diego Airport going down in the future? I see that may be replaced by a new different airport. You know, it would be pretty far in the future, man. I don't see San Diego going anywhere in the immediate future. But, you know, with this whole corona thing going on, there could be a lot of changes coming across the whole nation. So we'll see. I hope that it doesn't change. I don't personally think it's going to change anytime soon that I'm aware of. You have a GPU bottleneck. Yeah, you can say that again. Definitely. But you know what? I get great frames with my 1070. It's a heck of a card, man. I do need to upgrade, though. Kevin Thomas is right. Better to ask when not hectic face. Favorite World War II bird? Probably the P-51, man. It's just so iconic to me. The P-51 is just, I don't know. The engine, yeah, maybe something has to do with it about when I was a flight student and an instructor, too. Precious metal. The Reno Air Race P-51 with dual props, all chromed out, would come park in our hangar. So, I mean, I'm kind of partial to that. But I'd be hard-pressed to pick something other than the P-51. I love that P-51, man. Matter of fact, I have a P-51 mug that I was drinking coffee out of this morning. My V1 mug was dirty. And there's a nice little ortho island down there. Enter ROSRO for the Rosario waypoint. Really? ROSRO? Let me take a look at it. Here we go, learning more stuff. Let's check it out. Let me make sure. All right, we're about to turn. Yeah, we're definitely going to hold. We're high on profile. I should have made that. Well, maybe not. We'll see. I should have made that a hard altitude of 3,000. All right, let's try that. RSRO. Or I'm sorry. What did you say it was? It was ROSRO.
Subscribe.
ROSRO. How about this one? Well, I'll be damned. Look at you guys. Look at you guys coming in with the tips. Guys, I love it. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Now, I'm not sure why this... Oh, this shows a discon from the PBD. That's okay. We know we're going to follow the 211 course. We'll pull it up on the VOR page when we fly in there. But awesome. Hey, check it out. ROSRO, and it's got the altitude 530 there, minimum 460, so absolutely beautiful. Thank you guys for pointing that out. Makes my job easier. Like I said, I should have done a practice approach. I have not done a single practice approach coming in here. We're at vertical speed. We cannot enter the hold because we're in the flight factor. All right, so we're going to go open descent, reduce speed 250 knots. Interesting. All right, direct me to Funchal, please. Direct to insert. Speed brakes out. I might have to self-vector a hold. I know if I input a hold, it will crash the game, so I can't input a hold manually. But it did not, it tripped off that hold there for some reason. We'll see if we can get down. So right now we've just simplified things. We're coming in direct to Funchal, so we don't need the arrival. The arrival really doesn't do anything for you other than set you up on a hold. Maybe it's because it couldn't capture the RNAV. I don't know. It was a weird disconnect there. But that's not a problem. We're going to stay on top of it here. We don't want to get distracted. We got the brakes out. We're descending. What does it say we're going to cross Fun at 9,000? Yeah, we're going to be high. So I'm going to select heading and we'll do a quick 360. What I would love to do is come in here and enter a hold, but it will crash the simulator, so we can't enter a hold, which is very unfortunate. But we will manually do a 360. So I'm going to select heading and we're going to make it a right 360. We're pretty much right where we were supposed to be anyway. So we're on 200. I'm going to go Rose Nav. I'm going to go direct all the way back around 020. This will help us get down a little bit more on profile. We cannot come in here smoking. Porto Santo Island. Thank you. Yeah, that's right. That's where we just flew over. Tony Docs, what's up, man? He says, sorry, I've been absent the stream. My sim keeps CTD. It was fine last night, but this morning CTD I never loaded. Uh-oh. Oh, man. Wiping everything and reinstalling. Tony Docs, dude, I am sorry, man. That is a pain to deal with. Bernardo, that's your island too? Awesome, man. Let's see if we can see it out the window here. It might be blocked by the clouds. Awesome. We spotted your island too. Oh, there it is. Porto Santo out there, right? Nice, man. Hearing Haley do her announcements. Gotta love it. Definitely is beautiful, Bernardo, man. Thank you. Alright, we're at a 10,250. I'm going to select speed now. We're going to activate and confirm the approach phase. Auto brakes. We'll do auto brakes. We'll do manual brakes. Oh no, Captain Joe did medium brakes, didn't he? We'll do medium brakes. Alright, we'll fly outbound, and then we're going to just do a right-hand turn, right back in, direct to Fox Uniform November. Yeah, it's a real bummer about the holds. Now, one thing about the TOLUS, I could input a hold there, but I can't do it in the flight factor. Alright, brakes are set, everything is looking good. We got a reference barrel of 1,000. That water though, Baldwin? I know, man. Check that out. Absolutely stunning. When will I fly to the Azores? We'll see, man, in due time. Tony Dice, it's a massive pain, but that's why I always create regular backups of my stuff. That's 100% good idea, man. Yeah, now it's a pain, not a nightmare. Atlanta 75 Flyer says, would you consider flying the 7576? Absolutely, man. I just haven't been around to it in a while. Currently flying the 76 from Atlanta to Salt Lake. Sweet. My only gripe with the 75 is the wing textures, and I love my wing views. You guys know that. But I mean, yeah, we haven't flown Flight Factor in a while. That's a good point, though. Maybe we should do a little Boeing on this Euro tour before we finish up. All right, 10:19 on the QNH is set. There's our transition. We're coming back around. I'm going to redirect us to Fox Uniform November. We are back in nav mode. Thrust idle open, descent. 4 for 3,000. Brakes are still out. We'll reduce to 180 knots as soon as we level. 1,000 feet to go. Let's run an approach checklist. Briefing complete. ECAM status is checked. Auto brakes are medium. Seatbelt signs are on. Minimum's 1,000 for a reference set. Altimeter is 1019. 1, 2, and 3 times set. Approach checklist complete. Stow the brakes. Immediately come back to 180. I was a little late there. You hear the engine spool up. Should have been a little bit faster with that. All right, we're level 3,000 feet as we come across here. Recommended 190 knots, so we'll maintain 190 then. How's that? We'll do 190, and we'll continue our descent down to 2,000 as soon as we slow. So we're speed out. What's the outside air temp? Plus 19. No need for any engine anti-ice. We're looking good. Here comes VFE next. Minus 10. Flaps 1. Oops, wrong window. There we go. Here comes the slats. Is using the speed brake during descent a sign you didn't plan descent appropriately? Nah, man. Sometimes you just got to use it. Some guys are anal retentive about the speed brake, but especially on the bus, man, sometimes you just got to use it. Sometimes you just got to use it.
Subscribe.
Thrust idle open, descent. Here we go. Do I use X camera? No, I'm just using the regular X-plane views. All X-plane.
Subscriber ahead. Look up.
Says that about 1,500. Thank you for the subscribes there, guys. Appreciate it. Jean Mark and Stu Green. Thank you, guys. Field elevation is 191 feet. Runway touchdown is 146. But remember, we're not going to be configuring on that window of 2 and 180 just because this is a different approach. It's one of those approaches that are, what do you call it, like an exception to the rule, I guess. All right, so we're 190 knots, coming down to 2,000 feet. At or above 1,500 as we cross over the VOR, we're looking good. We are looking good. I will have to activate my track IR for this as well, too, so we'll get that ready. Bernardo says I have the flight factor 320, but never landed at Madeira because the airport is not good. I agree, man. The airport default is definitely not good. Even the the freeware that we have is okay. The runway just needs work, you know, on how it's depicted. I think I'm very surprised that there hasn't been a third-party developer that has, you know, Aerosoft, ORBX, anything like that, just taken over this whole island. Thank you for the subscribe, Noah. Appreciate it, man. We're still looking good. I'm going to start a descent down here to 1,500. Just want to do a flyby shot. That's that 190. We're holding that AOA is pretty high there, so we'll go 1,500 feet. Thrust idle open, descent. Down we go. At or above 1,500 over the VOR. Any wind updates here? .360 at 10, so we should be all right. All right, we're going to be in Rose Nav for now. After we cross over the VOR, I'm going to descend and maintain 1,000 feet. So there's Alt Star.
Subscriber.
There's the airport off our right-hand side. Thank you for the subscribe, man. Appreciate it. Can I arm it? I'm curious. Will it arm? It will. Speed Alt Final.
Terrain.
Ooh, that's going over the mountains there. Check. That would not be good. I'm going to go flaps 2. Bring it back to 160. There we go. We're following the 211 course outbound, so we know we're outbound on 211 and we're looking good. All right, at 3.6, we're going to continue flying straight. So I'm going to get my track IR set up here. Pop this out a little bit. Well, that's kind of hard to see with that out, so I may not do that. We're going to fly into a discon here. I'm assuming it's going to trip off here. We'll see what happens. We got the runway off our right-hand side. We're looking good. Flaps 3.
100 above.
I'm gonna fly her into this discon. See what happens. There we go. Autopilot tripped off. Check. Auto thrust off. Ground altitude is gonna be. We'll just set 3,000.
1,000.
And we got an ECAM message there because we flew into that discon intentionally. Arm the speed brakes. Give me the bird. Flight director's off. Here we go in the turn. I'll set that to VAP. Flaps full. How did my gear not come down? There we go. Late on the gear there, no worries. Alright, 840. Coming around to Jello. We're inside of this turn here because we got a nice, pretty slow, and a little bit low. Whoa. What was that? Landing gear flaps not down? I've never seen that before. Gotten a little low there, going to shallow out the descent. We want to be about 500 as we make the final turn. .600, we're looking good. Still coming down. Speed's good, 145. Tighten up that bank angle. Don't overshoot into the mountain for sure. Don't want to do that. Slight overshoot there.
400.
Right on the pappy. Got a little low there. Correcting. There comes our crosswind. 20 knots out of the left.
$200, 100, 50, 40, 30, 20, retard, 5.
Man, nice crosswind. Spoilers. Reverse green. Decel. 70 knots. Stow 'em. Whoo, buddy. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Madeira. Let's not stop on the runway. We don't have to go all the way down. We can flip it around right here. I don't know if that's permitted or not. I'm going to just turn it around on the runway. So, some interesting things on that approach. I was intentionally really trying to maintain lateral control of the center line. I'm very interested to see what this replay shows, because I know you guys were talking about hard to maintain that center line. Definitely could feel it. But wow, that wind shifted like crazy when we came out of that turn. That's going to be a fun one to break down. I definitely, what I was not expecting, and I don't know how true, I've never flown this approach in real life. When I came out of that turn, you saw me overshoot. I was thinking the wind was going to be there out of the north a little bit earlier, pushing me back towards the ocean, right? So I wouldn't, so that's why I kind of drag that turnaround, but I guess maybe the wind is blocked there by the terrain until you come in a little bit closer. So it was interesting. It definitely Definitely was a challenging approach. I'm going to have to do that again. That was fun, though. All right, let's go ahead and get the airplane off the runway here. We've reconfigured the flaps and spoilers. Now that we're clearing, we can go ahead and get the rest of our lights off. But wow, that was challenging coming in there. And that's my first time ever doing this approach. So I'm gonna have to practice that one again and try again, because that was really fun. Got the butter. We were close. I don't even remember what it was. It was like, what the heck was the landing rate? 180 something? I don't even know. I just saw it wasn't yellow, so I'm like, I don't care about it. But that was interesting. Let's go ahead and turn right here. Sure slowed down in a hurry. We don't have a marshaller, so we'll just kind of cheat our way in here. We'll go to the cheat view. We'll stop on the first one. Ooh, yeah. Brakes set. APU never started because I forgot to start it. Have no fear. We'll do this. We'll go ground power on. Maybe they don't like APUs here in Madeira anyways. Engine 2 can come offline. Seatbelts. Ground power is on. Engine 1. Spool them down, baby. Whoo, buddy. 160? Yeah. This scenery is worse. Guys, I know. I'm right there with you on the scenery, but it is what it is. Until somebody picks it up and really does a nice job, we're kind of stuck with it. Nice parking job, though. Right on the money. All right, let's back everything up here. First things first, disable real view. That would be very sad if we did not do that. Real view has been disabled. My track IR is off. I'm going to throw you guys into the replay mode. Let's hop it back, shall we? Perfect. Look at that. First try. We'll watch it from the ugly terrain view first. No, that's too ugly. I can't do that. We'll watch it from here. How's that? No sound, so we'll give us a little replay music. Clear direct Fubar. Maintenance says, maintenance hates me. My landings are always too hard. Hey, no worries, man. You don't worry about it. As long as you can walk away from it, it's a good airplane. It's a good landing. You're just keeping maintenance employed. Look at it that way. Juliana says, that's a great landing for a first timer. Cool as always. Yeah, that was no lie, guys. Have not attempted one approach into here. But thank you. Appreciate it, man. Jason says, how do you know when to turn when you can no longer see the taxi line? How do you know how wide to turn? It just comes with practice. Just comes with practice. Oh, right over the threshold. That one was ripping. Definitely see the aileron correction. We'll do a couple of these inside shots, and then I'm really going to dissect the exterior landing for you guys. Because I remembered as we were on approach, I was like, I'm really going to focus on trying to keep that center line. Oh, I forgot to put the flight control page up. But you can see, at least on the other wing view, the aileron's working. Frickin' juicy. CFM's opening up there. Does the MATAVIA work for every livery? Yes, it does. You should fly to Tenerife. Scenery was free. We might go to Tenerife, man. We'll see. All right, let's watch. Wow, look at that wind. All right, so let's back it up. Let's discuss here. So right here, I think I came in pretty tight. I probably should have come in a little bit wider. I was really anticipating being blown to the water side. But if anything, I was too shallow in this turn. Because the wind really didn't start pushing me until we got in here. Maybe it starts rolling out of, who knows, maybe it rolls out of this valley. I don't know. Because see how I overshot that? But then right about here, the wind really started pushing me back over. So here I am doing left correction, and I'm being pushed out. It was 20 knots coming from the left side there on the initial approach, on the final or close in. So now we're crabbed. This is pretty normal. This is pretty good. Nice crab angle. So as we came in, here comes the flare. Now where's the rudder input? There's my rudder. I couldn't quite straighten it out. Ooh, side loaded. I still needed more rudder on that one. Now I don't know if this is an X-plane crosswind landing thing or what, because for some reason it doesn't matter how much input I feel like I'm putting in. I can't still keep her on the center line, but let's see. See, there's that rudder. I was anticipating more reaction. Look at the rudder right there. At that point, right here, look at this deflection. This nose should be moving. This nose should be moving. It's not moving. But that is a pretty... If you think about... Okay, so don't think about the side load. We talked about textbook crosswind landings. Left main, right main, nose gear. There's the right main. And then the nose gear. Now, we were side loaded definitely on impact, but I don't know if that's an X-plane thing or what. And then she came down just fine. But that wind was howling. Let's watch one more coming in here. Not happy doing a strut replacement unless it's a field trip with extra pay. Well, there you go. We might have a field trip out here. Yeah, we definitely... Oh, where was my aileron correction? Let's see if I had any ailerons, and then we're going to play some music and get out of here. But I should have had some left aileron. There's my deflection there. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's just an X-plane thing or what, because I'm putting in inputs to get the airplane left, and it's just not responding. I see the elevator move, or the rudder moving. Oh no, we'll take it. Definitely not the best. Definitely not the best out there. Probably could have been improved, but for a 20-knot wind there coming out of the north, I'll frickin' take it. We'll watch this one come around here. Bitrate is killing you. Uh-oh. Maybe it's maybe YouTube's getting unhappy with me. Guys, I appreciate you all hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed this stream. I sure did. Mods, sponsors, donors, you guys are awesome. Mods definitely working, keeping the channel on point here, keeping the channel on point. Really appreciate you guys, what you guys are doing. All the new members, you guys are awesome. Guys just hanging out in chat, appreciate it. Hit the like button for me on the way out. I hope you learned something this stream. I hope you guys have a safe, wonderful weekend. Until next time, I'll see you later. See ya!